Hi everyone, it's Leslie Robinson. Welcome to the 5-Minute Facilitator. This is the learning objective. A little bit about what we're going to do. First, I'll take a look at the goal, or we'll take a look at the goal, then how we're going to achieve the goal, and then we'll get right into the 5-Minute Facilitator class. So the goal is really to create a learning objective. So by the end of this, you will be able to create a learning objective. That's the goal. How? I will do a 5-minute presentation. That's the 5-minute facilitator part. And then there will be about 20 minutes of facilitation where you get to practice. You get to ask questions, be coached. And then there's just a few minutes of feedback just to round everything off. And so again, I welcome you to the 5-minute facilitator. Let's get going. The worst class I was ever in was, ironically, in my master's degree in adult education. And the professor had just moved into a new home, and he just rambled on and on about the deer, the animals, the wildlife, that he couldn't have a clothesline. It was crazy. There was absolutely no direction. He did not talk about adult education at all. And we as a class mutinied. We finally got it to, we had a conversation with him and we said, this isn't working. And then he put together the learning objective. He actually had structured notes and he had examples and he had activities for us. And so that's when I really learned the power of the learning objective. So I don't want that to happen to you. So let's take a look at the learning objective. By the end of today's session, you will be able to identify 3 out of 3 parts of a learning objective. Can you do that now? Do you know the 3 elements, the 3 parts in a learning objective? Just a show of hands. Yes, no, maybe. Thanks. The learning objective is the purpose of the lesson. It's the heart, it's the soul, it's the engine that absolutely drives the learning. It is a contract. It's a contract between you, the facilitator, and the learner. It's an agreement. It's like when you want to go and buy a house. You read everything about the house, and then there is the seller. And so the seller will have what they need, they will have their conditions, and as the buyer, you will have your conditions. And so we put it together and you make a contract. All right, it's the same for the learner and for the facilitator. And that contract is called the learning objective. The learning objective, the contract, is written as a statement in 3 parts. And those 3 parts, which is what you're on the hook to learn right here, is performance, condition, criteria. Those are the 3 parts. Here's a little bit more about each of them. The performance is what they, the students, will actually be able to do. It's not what you're going to talk about, it's what they are able to do. There's a strong empowerment factor in here. And in traditional adult education, we have the secret handshake, and it's called swab it. The student will be able to. And often a learning objective starts this way, and then the very next word is a verb. Some good starter verbs are identify, describe, and perform. Hold that, and we'll keep moving to the next part, the condition. So the performance is what the learner will do. The condition is what you give them so that they can do it. It's what you're going to do to assist them. And so you'll be giving them your time, your resources, your knowledge, your skill. And then the third step is the criteria. This is how you measure success. This is how the learner knows whether they have completed it or whether they have successfully achieved it. And it's how you as a facilitator know that you have. Did we get there? And so sometimes it's articulated as a number numerically. And so it could be a percentage, like 70%, or in safety, it's usually 100% or 95% accuracy that is required. For words, or the other way would be a qualitative way. And this would be anecdotal. So it could be words like confidence, or with empathy, or with understanding, or compassionately. So there are 3 parts of a learning objective. And we said before that by the end of this, you will be able to identify 3 out of 3 elements of a learning objective. They are the performance, the condition, the criteria. The performance is what the learner does. The condition is what you do. And the criteria is how you measure success. So, can you spot them here? By the end of today's session, you will be able to identify 3 out of 3 elements of a learning objective. Can you see the performance? Yeah, you will be able to identify elements of a learning objective. The condition is by the end of today's session. That's what I'm giving you. I'm giving you some information, some time, and then we'll be standing by to facilitate you creating your own. And the measurement of success, 3 out of 3 elements. You will get 3 out of 3 of these parts of a learning objective. So, again, the 3 parts are performance, condition, criteria. And that is what you were on the hook for. So now go for it. What are the 3? Identify the 3 parts of a learning objective. Just write it down, say them out loud. Talk to your plant. Did you get them? Performance, condition, criteria? Okay. So now that you've got them, and you have identified the 3 parts of a learning objective, now let's notch up your learning. And now we're going to change the verb from identify to create. So by the end of this activity, this next activity, you, the learner, will be able to create your own learning objective in 3 parts. So this is where I turn it over to you. This is your turn. And so in this next section, we take 20 minutes or so, and you create your own learning objective in 3 parts. To help you do that, I've got this simple table, and you can see at the top we have the performance, what the student will be able to do, the condition, and the criteria. And then I've given you an example about baking a cake. You will also see in the documents that go along with this, I've got a worksheet for you to complete, and I've got more verbs for you to play with and to get you started. And so in this part, this is where we have the conversation back and forth. And so, did you get them? Did you get your performance, your condition, criteria? And as we now complete this, I would just be asking you for some basic feedback on how did it go? How was this session for you? What's one word that best describes your experience, your learning right now in the area of learning objectives? All right, thank you. And next, then we have the full 5-minute facilitator on designing lessons is a half-day program. We can do it half an hour over 5 days, or we can do it in half a day. all 5 lessons in half a day. And then the next one is to facilitate engagement. How do we do that? And of course, there's always personal support for your project available and more details at leslierobinson.ca. Thank you so much for being here. That concludes our session on the learning objective. This is Leslie Robinson, the 5-Minute Facilitator. Thanks for being here.